How Long Gone? Chris Black coming to you live from Chris Storer's office on the set of The Bear Season 2 in Chicago. I have my feet kicked up. I'm disrespecting his property. It feels good to be in like a real office setting with lots of people kind of running around, Jason.
Yeah, let me paint a picture. We got storyboards behind you. Could you explain what that is exactly, and what episode, what season, and what?
Yeah, I've been here for like 48 hours. I had to meet with Chris and his partners on some other stuff, but they were shooting, so I got to go to set today and kind of see them at work. And I've been with these guys. We went to dinner last night, the whole thing, and they haven't given me one iota of plot. It's incredible how they talk around it. They've given me nothing. No guest stars, no plot twists, no idea of what's happening.
Which is kind of interesting, because you really do not give off the energy of somebody who honestly gives two flying shits about the plot of any TV show.
It's true, but I think because they are, I think that's just like what they're used to behavior-wise.
Yeah.
So it's just, I get the same treatment. But yeah, it's been interesting. I've never been on a television set before. So it's pretty wild to kind of be in the kitchen, watching it all go down with Matty Matheson breathing in my ear. It's romantic as it can be, but Chris and his partners have been, Josh and Cooper have been great hosts, but Chris is kind of like a snappy dresser.
Yeah.
He wears a tie every day to work, which seeing it in action has done. I'm like, okay, this really is something, like he's in charge, so it really works for him. It's not like he's the fucking guy driving me home, in the Sprinter.
Right.
So I think it works. But yeah, it's been a full. I had to come to Chicago to get Hollywood, Jason, and it's a twist I didn't see coming.
It's kind of interesting, because you found the one television producer who dresses well, I guess, and also it's sort of scratching your itch, or you're able to move between the worlds of fashion and television seamlessly, no pun intended, around. It's basically like Tom Brown himself is directing this television show.
Yeah.
Set in gritty Chi-Town.
It's crazy, yeah, when you pull up and the director's got the Byredo candle on his desk and he's wearing Drake's. I did feel a warm hug when I walked in here.
Honey, I'm home.
I know, and somebody, what's really impressive, actually, this is insane. Yesterday, we put in a coffee order and whatever. This morning, I show up for day 2. The assistant brings coffee for me, same order. I didn't even know she knew I was going to be here.
No shit.
Yeah, so pro. It was like really impressive. She was like, almond milk cortado, and I was like, yeah. She's like, all right, yeah, here we go. Same as yesterday, and I was just like, damn, I'm really impressed. Well-oiled machine.
Okay, so it feels like, because like back in the day, I know that we reminisce of the day. If you've read the CAA book and everything. Movie sets, Hollywood glitz and glamour, and then TV was sort of the stepchild in the bunch.
Yeah.
And does it feel as if the tables have turned a lot, at all? I mean, obviously people say that television is sort of, where it's at compared to cinema, thanks to streaming. But do you feel like a resurgence or a renaissance of television?
Well, I think it's just like anything else, any other industry. I think if money is being made, if something is successful and winning awards and making money, then the situation is going to be good. And I think that's the truth across the board in most places. But yeah, I think that like watching them rehearse and do it's really, I've never been in this situation before, so it's really interesting to watch. And I think it's like, I was sitting in Video Village with the headphones on. You know what I'm saying? I was really in my fucking bag, and they're all getting it. They all love it because they're just like, look at this fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like having the best time. Being like, Jeremy, can you do that one more time? Just try it one more time. I just, I don't know, man. I
think we got it, but just
one more time. It just wasn't exact.
It's not for me.
Yeah, Chris was like, bro, I know your name is Chris, but that's kind of my job. But we worked through it. We were able to work through it. But yeah, the sun's out. I got to go to the Ralph Lauren restaurant with Ben Edgar, the mayor of Chicago, on Sunday night when I got in. So it's been a pretty successful trip to the Midwest, which is
so a great trip. So you had #SetLife. You got to eat, I'm assuming, a a lightly cooked piece of fish with Ben Edgar. What else do you need, right?
It's. I mean, I went to Maddie, Josh, and Cooper and Rick took me to Nobu last night, where something interesting happened. Jason, first of all, Maddie ordered. I mean, it was 5 guys. He ordered the 50-piece nigiri, which felt like some real
50 piece. Well, first of all, Illinois, what a great sushi state. But was it 50 piece straight for him, or was that
no? It was
sharesies?
It was for the table, but then he ordered the uni as well, and he took a bite of the uni, and his face looked, he didn't look well, and he was like, "This uni tastes like diarrhea." I'm like, I'm not a big uni guy, but uni, I understand, and it was he had to say something. Yeah, he walked up privately and was like, "Hey man, that uni, there might be something off with that."
The last time I ordered uni, I did that. Actually, the second to last.
You had the same situation where you were like, "This doesn't taste right," and somebody was like, and you went and had to approach the bench.
Yeah, but I handled it very, very low key. I mean, I basically, because the problem is like, it's pretty, like, if you love uni, you sort of know, or for our listeners at home, we're talking about sea urchin roe. It's a delicacy.
For a
lot of people might not know.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is a delicacy.
We have fans all over the world, but
expensive too. I mean, that's part of the.
It's very expensive. It's very delicate. It's harvested. There's a lot of labor and cost, and when you taste really good uni, you're like, oh fuck, this is so good. It's so crazy. So when it's very easy to tell when you've got diarrhea uni, and when you're paying like fucking $30 for a bite of it,
it needs to be.
You're
hidden.
goddamn right. I walk up to the server kind of on the low and just be like, hey, just to let you know, I think the uni kind of turned a little bit, and they're usually kind of embarrassed if it's a reputable establishment
like Nobu.
I guess if it really was a reputable establishment, they would never serve you diarrhea uni. But that's another thing.
We don't have enough time for that. What is my question to you then is, Jason? I know you're not a sushi chef, but how fast can the uni turn? You know what I mean? Is it like really within like a 12-hour period? It could go wrong.
I would say, I mean, like with all fish, as soon as it dies, it's getting worse and worse with time, and you don't really want to freeze sea urchin. I would say, I wouldn't want to have it more than 24 hours.
Okay.
If you're doing it expensive, but they have to fly. I prefer Santa Barbara to Hokkaido myself.
Of course, no, and
in terms of carbon footprint,
I think
as well as flavor.
I think they're able to harvest a nice batch in Lake Michigan. I could be wrong, but maybe that was the issue. The temperature of the water in Lake Michigan just wasn't right.
Look,
this season.
The drinking water in Flint, I would not fill up your Nalgene with it, but it does something so crazy to the sea urchin I can't explain it. I think it's going to turn this city around.
Yeah, that's really all I've got to report. It's been like I said.
Are you ever going to come back, or are you just shy-pilled?
Well, I was a little bit. I've been hanging around enough, and I've been making friends, kind of in all facets of the business. I'm talking to the prop master. The Teamsters are loving me because Matty's wearing his Carhartt. And they think I'm with him. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little. I haven't been. It's weird because I haven't been asked to kind of walk by in the background or maybe order a sandwich or anything. So maybe it's just it could just be the shooting schedule or something,
I think that your star power could end up being distracting as an extra in the background because people are instantly it's gonna break the internet. It's gonna break the FX.
No, I know.
And be like, holy shit, there go Chris Black. And then suddenly I'm taken out of the plot line.
No, and Eben is walking around in his full costume yesterday, which I was really feeling like the kind of motorcycle leather jacket with like the track pants and the original Beef of Chicagoland t-shirt on. And I was like, I like that you feel that everybody feels this comfortable, and I was like, maybe that's my problem though, is that I'm not my costume, I just look like a guy that works at an ad agency, unfortunately. So maybe if I dressed for the part that I want, they would kind of see me differently.
Yeah, right now it looks like the part that you want is when I'm at a bookstore and I ask to speak to the manager, you're the motherfucker who come out.
They're like, the part you're looking for is no, we're not gonna make any of the male characters gay. You cannot be their boyfriend. That is not we can't change the script for you, dude. You're only here for 2 days.
Look, I kind of need to be. I kind of do need to be someone's boyfriend in the show. Yeah,
it's pretty important, but yeah, I mean, we'll see.
So, do you feel like when people say like it can almost be inhibiting when you or sort of imagine yourself to be in a position like you're sort of playing the role of a television producer at low level, but still got to start somewhere.
Associate producer.
Okay.
Associate producer.
So you're sort of role playing as an AP. Does that mean you're subconsciously you're going to think that you are an actual AP and you have put in the work to achieve this? So thusly, you'd never have to try to shoot for these stars ever again, hindering your ability to actually be an AP IRL.
No, I don't think so. I think I've made some strides in Hollywood in these couple days, and I think that like the dividends will reveal themselves. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to push too far. I don't want to ask too many questions. I just kind of want to sit back, have the experience, and then return back to New York and my humble life there. Mm-hmm. And kind of have to get my own coffees.
Your little life.
But we do have a guest today. He's one of my favorite photographers of all time, Roe Ethridge. He spent a lot of time growing up in Atlanta, which we have in common. Mm-hmm. Which I'm very excited to talk about, as you know. But you've seen he just had a show. At Gagosian Uptown. His new monograph is out now. You can get that wherever books are sold.
American Polychronic, which has nothing to do with marijuana after some Googling.
Exactly.
And Roe, we're very lucky to have him. He's one of the only guests where usually when I'm on my silly little dog walks with Bae, she'll be like, "Oh, who's on the pod today?" And I'll be like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, whatever, okay. Even if it's a famous person, she's like, "Sick, cool." And then when I was like, "Oh, we got Roe Ethridge on today," she like spit out her fucking coffee, basically, just like, "What are you fucking sick?"
That's I do it for Carolyn. You know that I do it for Carolyn. Mm-hmm. The booking department, we're focused on stuff like that. But yeah, let's give Roe a jingle and find out what he's up to.
Yeah, and I need to know how Andrew WK's face got all bloody for that pig.
Roe, are you wearing your own merch just quickly?
I am. It's not mine per se. It's Etude is the
Okay, you did a collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not your collection of Roe by Roe Etheridge.
No, I'm also promoting Roe by Roe Etheridge. Well, it's not that, I guess I'm gonna have to change the name of my company or something. Roe by Roe.
So Mary Kate and Ashley are cool with it.
Yeah, they'll leave you alone.
Exactly, the Roe.
Yeah, actually, have you ever shot Roe? First question: you ever shot Mary Kate or Ashley Olsen?
No, but I did do a campaign for them very early on, which was funny that Roe did the Roe.
That is funny.
I'm sure the jokes were flying on set that day, right?
I don't really remember, but there was some at some point.
How could they not have?
It wasn't lost on anyone. So.
That's good because I think if I could see you doing the Roe ROE, and that really that would cause some litigious behavior from those two. But you could probably get away with Roe by Roe. I think that feels a little safer.
Yeah.
Diffusion line.
I mean, the spelling has been, speaking of jokes about my name, it's like my whole life, right? You row your boat, is a popular song amongst children. And
sure.
I was like, it's not spelled that way. Oh, it's not funny,
And then you grew up in the South, so kind of the catfishing community probably made a lot of jokes regarding bait and things like that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I still say it, like fish eggs, so that I can sort of like say that instead of like abortion,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a little cool. That's a little easier.
Didn't
to
even
digest.
think about that one.
No, I got a lot of people sending me like New York Times headlines that were like Roe is dead. And it's like, well, long live Roe, like I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're like, rude. So yeah, I mean, obviously you've been asked about your name a zillion times, I'm sure, but it seems like it's one of those very unique, interesting names that you would get growing up in the West Village with funky parents who give you that name. But
exactly.
Growing up in like suburban Atlanta, it also has the energy of like one of those kind of cool Southern names that have sort of fallen by the wayside, but have like a little.
It is.
Chris, I'm sure you have a bunch of examples of names like that as well. Like Huck or something,
No, but it's like there's like WASP names that you learn from living in New York, where it's always a short form. It's like it doesn't really make sense, and somebody explains it to you, and you're like, so you got that from Elizabeth? Like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
But in the South, I think there probably are some like
maybe like a Tarl with a T or something.
Yeah, there's some. I mean, because even my dad's middle name being Lamar, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like my dad's middle name being Lamar is crazy. That has to be Southern. There's no reason for him to, like, that's not our lineage or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, my name on my birth certificate is Roy Monroe Etheridge III. So it is very Southern.
Oh.
My dad grew up in Albany, Georgia, which is like,
yeah,
close to the Alabama border. And, it's like one of those things where he said he grew up being called Sonny, Little Roy, Junior, and like every other thing you could be called if you're a second.
Anything they could.
And so when they decided to stick with the third, they were going to pick a nickname so that everybody would just use one nickname, and Roe was what it was from Monroe.
That's good parenting. So so you're saying it kind of combines your first and middle name.
No, well, it's taking the ROE off of Monroe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the idea of everyone sitting down to sort of take a country folk vote on what the youngin's nickname is going to be.
While they're eating pecans off their...
All right, gather around, y'all. We're fixing to name Roe for good.
Time to decide what the boy child's name will be.
Boy child.
Y'all sit down. I haven't thought about Albany, Georgia in a very long time. That's some Jason. You think that I have Southern roots? Like Albany is some real shit.
I reckon that's 2 ticks down from Chattahoochee, right?
You ain't ready for that, Jason. You ain't ready for that.
Down by the creek.
Did you go there?
Exactly.
Did you go there growing up to like visit family and like ride 4-wheelers and shit?
We did go to the family reunion in Thomasville.
Oh yeah,
for a few years, and as you can see here, your listeners can't see. I'm wearing a Florida State hat.
Go Seminoles!
Go Noles! So both my parents went there. My uncle went there. Lots of family, and my great aunt was at FSU, and it was a women's college.
Oh, I didn't know it was ever a women's college. Interesting.
Yeah, that's like a within the football rivalry. That's like a joke that often comes up. Like, yeah, it's a girls' school or whatever. Like,
oh, I see. Basically, you guys are a bunch of pussies. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
But we showed them this year, so fuck you, Gators. Fuck you, Canes. Sorry, better luck next year.
Okay, so this I like this Florida because I actually, funnily enough, I have a lot of deep connections to Tallahassee because there was a thriving hardcore scene there.
Oh yeah,
when I was growing up, and we would drive there to play shows and go to shows.
Oh no shit.
So spent like a lot of time in Tallahassee.
So you played at Planet 10?
Yeah, I've been to, and there was also, what was the other place? There was the place. It was like a
oh my god.
It was kind of like a commune a little bit.
Yeah.
And bands would play. There was like a rec center that like bands would play in.
Yeah. That was further.
It was in the woods a little bit. It was in the woods a little bit.
Yeah, it's where Darth Vader's church used to live.
What is Darth Vader's church?
Pardon me?
They were a thrash band. And I forget the name of that place, but that was still like at that time I was there from 87 to 89.
Okay.
But yeah, at Planet 10, I mean, I just got somebody just sent me pictures from Government Issue.
Shit.
Hell
yeah. There's pictures of like with my flannel shirt with the pocket ripped off, and I'm like,
of course,
like and then I saw Henry Rollins' first tour.
Sick. Yeah.
As Henry Rollins band. And, the stage there was like 2x4. It was like 4 inches high.
I love when the stage is literally 2x4 height.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing? Is this really, I don't know if this makes a difference,
like you couldn't see Henry because he's like, he's bent over the whole time, like doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so, you're standing looking down at Henry Rollins while he's like, I was like, try not to bump into him because you don't want to like stop the show or be,
get punched,
beaten to death.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not the sweetest guy. Tallahassee's a really funny place though. It is because it's like it's one of those cities that you can't believe is the capital.
I know, right?
Of the state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because obviously the university is really big and like the football program is really big. So there's all this stuff there. But it was kind of sleepy though in its own way.
Yeah.
It didn't feel big. Even like when you would go there when like school was in session, it didn't feel like crazy. Because I used to go to Athens all the time. Athens feels fucking insane if there's a football game.
Oh, it's a totally different thing. Yeah. I mean, I think the population, it always felt like the population of Tallahassee, like, was cut in half, as soon as the semester ended. I spent my summer there, and I guess it was 88 and 89 as well. And so it was great to like be in this, like, whatever, the mossy oak, South.
Yeah.
And like nobody around, just your friends, and, getting into trouble. But also, I guess because so much of my family has either lived there or still live there, it did feel a little bit like I was visiting a kind of home. It's like I'm not going to live here. I'm not going to say I'm going to go to art school. I'm going to get the fuck out of this town. But at the same time, it was like, I don't know. I guess it's a normal thing in any region, but for the South, it really felt like it was like this sort of iconic, swampy Southern thing. It's like a particular
one of America's most iconic swamps.
Yeah, exactly. Top swamps. They all exist. They all exist in Florida and New Orleans, maybe. But we gotta divvy up the pot. Yeah, I mean, I tell Jason all the time, like, once you live in, I've lived in New York or LA for over 15 years, so I haven't lived in Atlanta in a really long time, but I just feel a draw to it more now than I ever have, because when you leave, you're like, they don't get it, man, they don't understand me, this place is stuck in the past.
They're gonna regret.
Exactly. And then you get older and you're like, it's not that bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not
nice quality of life.
You can live a normal life.
There's like now there's
life.
Good places to eat. It's not just like whatever, Zestos and the Varsity or whatever,
Damn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just like a hot dog and French fries. There's real food.
I mean, I do, now that we're saying it, I remember the Euclid Avenue hot dog. I think they had a chili dog. It was like the Yacht Club, what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Yacht Club is still there.
I heard actually some friends of mine they went to the Bill Callahan show and then went to the Yacht Club afterwards, and it was like, we don't even like look at other people while we're there. It's like and they don't look at us. It's like we're just like 50-year-old men who sort of like are to not be seen,
Well, this is what happens though. This is what happens like when Jason, because we do shows there, and Jason's come to visit for us to write, and Jason's come a few times to hang out with me, and it's always like, I only want to go to Elmira and like the shitholes that I went to when I was there, live there. And there's all these new amazing places. And I'm like, yeah, I guess we can go do that, but it's not top of the heap. You know what I'm saying? You want to go relive a little something, or at least feel that like warm hug of something that you recognize.
Yeah.
And it's tough because of the city that's grown that much. There is like so much to go see now.
No, it's true.
It's exploded.
No, it's totally different place than it was. I mean, I left Atlanta for New York in 97. So, it was kind of starting to, I guess, like, there was more of a, talk about the Beltline and, doing different things. And it just seemed like, like that's going to do anything. And then it turned out to do everything. I was like, fucking A, man, this place is weird.
So you're going to build a trail and put a Kroger next to it. And this is going to,
that Kroger's called Murder Kroger, right?
I told you that, Jason. It's called Murder Kroger. I mean, there's a disco Kroger and a murder Kroger, which are really two sides of the two sides of the same
two
coin
favorite
in a lot of ways.
So much. I mean, it's funny because like I go on those trips with Chris, and I don't have any nostalgic connection to these places, but it is fun to see him kind of light up as he eats one of the shittiest burritos I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, dude, as I'm peeing in one of the dirtiest bathrooms of my entire life, and I'm like, this is so anti the Chris that I know that it's so interesting to see a glimpse of this, because we all have our versions of that where it's like, look, guys, I know this sucks. I know you're not going to like this, but like, I have to do this for me. And as somebody who loves me, you have to fucking do it too. I'm just sorry. Those are the rules.
You're going to just think the scar that you'll have from it, you'll cherish,
Exactly.
later.
My scars tell a story, and they say I did a lot of coke in this bathroom.
Exactly. That's what all my scars say.
Did you guys go to Claremont Lounge?
No, because Jason actually stayed at the Claremont Hotel because they've redone it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but the lounge, I believe the lounge I believe they've left it alone. I think that was part of the deal, is that they can redo the hotel. And it was actually, Jason, you liked staying there. It wasn't bad, was it?
It's a sweet little hotel that I really enjoy, but when you go there on like a Tuesday and you check in, and there's just like a guy at the coffee shop being like, "Hey, you gonna go see the War on Drugs concert this weekend? Would you? We have a really good brownie if you." And then on Friday night, it's like blackout hillbillies with 24 packs of Bud Light, just like, I'll fucking kill you, bro. Like, for just walking, But it's a strange. That's Atlanta over there.
That's Atlanta, and it's also the location of that is so good. Like, at least for the life that I lived there, like the idea of staying in the middle of Ponce de Leon when all of my haunts, when it was the local or MJQ or all that stuff, is right there. So it's like makes so much sense in my mind. Whereas like Jason, I'm sure, would prefer to stay in Buckhead. He doesn't give a shit about being able to walk to like a bar to have hot wings. Like, he does not care. but that's, I don't give him much of a choice. You know what I mean? So it's we find a way around it.
Ro, I wanted to talk about the book. I made a joke at the beginning of the show saying I was surprised that American Polychronic had nothing to do with marijuana, but I know that polychronic is a real word, but the way that you sort of use it is a little different than, I guess, like the Webster's definition, which is sort of like a multitasker, I guess, which you kind of are in photography, but you're using it as a way of saying there's no chronological order that's happening. It's sort of going in multiple directions.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, the structure of the book, and I think at some point, just to like take it back a little bit, I realized that as a photographer living in New York, that I was interested in both fine art, or whatever you want to call it, like art world, and
editorial and commercial.
Fair enough. And what I sort of kept them separate and tried to get work.
Yeah.
And then also like work on my thesis based conceptual photography or whatever. And at some point, I think in '99, I took a picture for Allure magazine, and it was a how to put on lipstick shoot.
Sure.
And
Sure.
the model
I remember it well.
Showed up and had this like the worst chapped lips that I'd seen in a while. Like, I don't even know what we're gonna do here.
Like, it was a medical issue.
It already feels like it's a art project without. I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
And so I can remember. Yeah, this is perfect, but not for Allure, but for my project. But at that point, I can remember putting the Polaroid down from the shoot next to all my I'm like reading Wittgenstein and trying to figure out like how I can be smart and philosophical in my artwork. And then, but there's this portrait of a girl with red lips that are very chapped, lipstick over chapped lips. And it was just like that image just smoked all of my thesis kind of, smart work.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just have to accept it. This is who I am, and like, I'm, if I'm polluting my, artwork with commercial work, then I'm, whatever, the swamp thing, back to the swamp, that's who I am. And so it felt like it was a way to tell the truth, or a truth that was part of being a photographer in New York at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while, at that point, layouts were made with Quark. Remember Quark?
Yeah, the program.
Yeah, so I got Quark, and I was like, this is not easy. I thought I could figure this out. But like 3 months later, somebody said, you should try InDesign. So then I got InDesign, and that was much more like intuitive, and I sort of figured out that I could do my own sequencing. I think at that point, I thought, okay, so this is the next thing for me, where I'm like not just printing stuff out on my little office printer and like laying things out on the floor to look at a sequence, but I'm sort of like making the whole musical score in InDesign. And that format of the book, that transformed it. for me. And so ever since then, I've thought of myself as like, I can do these various things as a photographer. I can sort of, it's like when you're a kid and you do odd jobs, around the neighborhood to make money. It's like I can walk the dog, I can, get my dad's edger and do your, I can cut the lawn, I can pick up your mail, whatever.
At your service.
Exactly.
Well, I was wondering about the sequencing because since you are of you're a little older than we are, and the current generation now, everything feels so digital and feels so computer based, iPad based, whatever. And I was wondering if you have the benefit of having a couple decades worth of photos and you get to sequence them in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you were the type of person that prints everything out and lays it on the floor to see like, okay, that shark photo has the same facial expression as this female model, so I'll put those together. Or is it just like, are you using InDesign or are you putting them up on the wall? Like,
it's all InDesign, and it's like I've had people say like, how do you do it or whatever, and I mean, I don't know. It's like, well, you just zoom out and zoom back in, and like.
So let me tell you how the computer works, guys. You can zoom out, right? You don't have to waste all the paper. I don't need any boards to pin, because people love pinning stuff on boards because it looks cool. That's why people like.
What's that behind you?
This is not mine. I'm in a friend's.
Oh, okay.
I'm in a friend's office. And I do think for this purpose, it's a TV show, so it makes sense. But I think that
makes more sense.
Overall, people love to see the image of the photographer, like just the floor covered in pages of the book, and the layout is just.
Yeah.
I'm struggling over the layout, but I think this book, because I have most of your books
right.
from over the years, but this one does feel like all encompassing. And I feel like I've had this discussion before with photographer friends or whoever, and I'm like, just put all the good stuff in there. Like, we don't need, you know what I mean? If you're really trying to show what you're capable of, if that's the goal, then just mix it up and let people enjoy it. I don't think it needs to be so partitioned.
Yeah, I think that for me, there was also something about this that was in 2016, I had a survey show in Cincinnati, worked with the curator. It was great. Kevin Moore, Cincinnati Contemporary Art Center for Photo Focus. It was great. It was incredible. What an opportunity. But following that, there's something slower and more deliberate about that institutional thing. And I was really psyched to do something that would be retrospective, but wouldn't be sort of beholden to the curator and the institution, but more like you're saying, like, what do you want people to see? It's like, it's not just like what does, what qualifies as an artwork or what qualifies as a good fashion picture or commercial still life. It's like, no. This is like the test with Polychronic, American Polychronic, was the commercial work goes from 22 to 99 sequentially. The exhibition artworks go from 99 to 22. So it was a little bit of a test to see, can these things over this past, 23 years, can they juxtapose? Can they sit with each other? Does that create another juxtaposition in this like 2 decades time frame? So it was challenging, but it was also like that thing where I don't know. It's like, can you do 15 pull-ups and then you do 16 pull-ups and you're like, fuck, yes, I can do 15. I was like, I don't think I could do 15 pull-ups now, but when I was in high school, that was a big deal.
Metaphorically speaking, you could do 15 pull-ups.
We got it.
The analogy.
I think that when you create those weird rules or boundaries of just like, okay, I'm just gonna, one day you're just hanging out, looking out the window, and you're like, okay, I'll do my reverse chronological editorial shoots juxtaposed with my double reversed commercial workshops, and we'll see what it's like lifting up a rock and seeing what crawls out. You
absolutely, dude.
Suddenly, these new compositions that you would have never considered
show themselves
are appearing for you, and then if they don't appear, then you can just rejigger them until something cool does work. I think that's an amazing idea. And
it also happened at kind of just the right time or just the wrong time or whatever. But, in 2019, I was like, okay, I really want to do this, and was talking to different publishers, and I work with Mac books, Michael Mack.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure if he'd be into it or not. And he was like, I think we could do a great job. And I'm like, I'm sure you could, but I thought maybe this is supposed to be more like a popular publisher or something that's like not so specialized or something.
Yeah. I'm sure you could. You know anybody bigger? You know what I mean? That I could talk to?
Yeah, that's cool, Michael. Thanks so much. But I was thinking
maybe I could make money on this one for a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But once I got the green light from him, that was in the fall of 2019, and to start thinking about titles and stuff like that. And then by winter of 2020, it was like, well, I guess I have something to work on here, like starting in March 11th of 2020. It was like I could see it in my computer. I think it was like April 4th, 2020, American Polychronic. Like I had the name, and then I live work studio here, so I was like down in the basement going through shit, doing that crazy COVID time travel thing. I don't know if that happened to you guys, where you're just like, it's like you almost fall into the well, and so it was a good timing because I have the material and I have the time, and no one's emailing to say like, what time do you want the hair and makeup to show up, or like, Can you please send a PDF of your most recent work? Like, it was quiet.
Yeah, a blessing for some people.
Yeah, I mean,
Indeed.
I think it was, you used your time wisely. Not everyone did. Jason got really good at sourdough, but that didn't really pay off in the same way. So it's
no, I got really good at making this podcast.
Okay, that's true. I'll give you that.
That's something. Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, that's something.
That's something.
And kettlebells. Ro, you mentioned earlier about, sort of walking the line between commercial and editorial work, and you sort of referred to yourself as a swamp thing, as if being able to navigate the worlds of commercial photography and editorial or artistic photography is a bad thing. But I think that's sort of the dream or the dragon that everyone in your position that everyone in your position is chasing, because you want to be able to create beautiful art that impresses people and also be rich. So like
yeah, exactly.
Do you consider like what is your philosophy on the ratio of one for you, one for them, or if somebody's listening and they want to try to figure out how to ride that perfect line between commercial and editorial, do you have any philosophy or advice for them?
Oh man, I did have to answer this question recently. In fact, it was going to be a promo piece for the book that I sent to Mac, and I was like, I don't know, does that work? They're like, it's great, and then they never used it, so I was like, maybe it wasn't great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If your answer is bad, I'll make it good in post. Don't worry. I'm an audio retoucher.
I mean, I do remember. Oh, good, thank you. That's what we need here.
Good to know.
Obviously, you can't afford my day rate, but first one's free. Show you good.
This one's on the house
to
so kind of show you what we're capable of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I can remember saying into my phone camera, "Get ready." That was my advice to aspiring photographers who want to do this. But I will say that I think that notion of doing both, while there were people who were doing it, it wasn't at the time when I, in that early 2000s, it was like there might have been some people who aspired to do that or whatever, but it took a lot of convincing on the art side.
Yeah, I was gonna say the commercial guys, they want what they want and they're gonna pay you for it and you're good, but the art world is less forgiving.
Well, it was just like a question of like, is that morally sound somehow?
Yeah.
It's like you're already sold out, so you can't really sell out twice in two different worlds, or something.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Exactly. But for me, it was like a thing that my interests or whatever were, in terms of photo history, did not align with in a sort of like traditional, like where in art school I might be learning about conceptual photography or things that preceded it, like things that I loved. All of it, but like Lee Friedlander, I loved Lee Friedlander, but these things felt like they were in a historical line from basically from the 50s, like the decisive moment, let's say, Cartier-Bresson to contemporary time with like appropriation, Cindy Sherman, Richard Prince, like, different things that you would learn in school. And at some point, I think it was, I don't know if it was like I saw an Outerbridge image and was like, yes, that is correct, or what. But, I think I was at the same time like sort of interested in this idea of, an early 20th century, late 19th century photography movement that was called pictorialism. And that was like one of those things that was truly forbidden. Like you couldn't, like if somebody in a critique said it's very pictorialist, I would have taken that as an insult, so it became this like taboo that I was like, I need to know more about pictorialism. Why does it bother people so much? Why does it bother me? And then, I started to understand how this, like the history of photography could be telling me something about right now in terms of like what my interest was, which, was like somewhere between whatever Bride's Day magazine at Big Star or, William Eggleston or, whatever. But what was interesting to me was the split between Stieglitz, who was more the art guy, and Clarence White, who was the guy who was teaching people how to make applied photography, commercial photography. And it's like, once the image could be reproduced, like in a paper or magazine format, that changed everything. That then that schism became the thing where you could choose to be
one or the other,
an artist, or could choose to be a commercial person. And I guess like to me, that was like the most interesting thing. And, it was like, it also like the Outerbridge, the Americana kind of like large format, that color, that staged feeling of artificiality that like, I loved from David Lynch, these qualities of like suffocating Americanness, that was like, yes, I know that all too well growing up, in Dunwoody, Georgia. And, to some degree, maybe the exotic side of that is like, I spent my first 10 years in South Dade. I was born in Miami. So, between that sort of like, lizards and, like fishing to like, church and football, it's like all of those things like combined together or something.
I love, we take an x-ray of Roe and that's what we see. We got lizards, church, football, it's
a little CTE, a little.
It's just
Roe's got that lizard in him.
He's got that lizard.
Yeah, I mean, you're that kind of that American suffocation. I mean, like when you look at one of your most iconic photos of the refrigerator, it is, there are no people in it whatsoever, but it just conveys that, if you were there in 1999 and you had a refrigerator, like what stuck out to me when I was looking at the image again was like there were stickers on the cabinets. And like the thought of doing that right now in my house is just so insane. But back then it was kind of normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just all those little things, and it just takes you right back.
Yeah.
If you had the refrigerator is clean now, but there was a time where the refrigerator was kind of like almost the centerpiece of the kitchen. It's like where information would come from. Like the calendar was there,
right?
The pictures were there. Like
it was the hub.
Yeah, it was the hub. The football stuff, like the magnets, the whole thing. Like that doesn't.
It was like family history. But according to mom, and like that's the thing.
Exactly,
It's like it's mom is the curator of this museum, and you cannot fuck around with mom's curation. Like if you touched something, if you moved something, it was like somehow magically moved back. It was like, oh, I thought I took that off.
If you touch my grocery list, go and get the switch.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna draw back a nub.
No, that's true. That's really really true.
Ro, how often does the country come back out in you, or is this the first time it's happened in a long time?
No, I'm sure that it does. I think when my Aunt Paula lives in East Tennessee, like 2 miles from the North Carolina border. It sounds so hilarious that hillbilly kind of country accent, but I'm sure that I have that, whatever that, like my mom did this too, and probably we all do it, like the chameleon thing where you start to kind of like sound like the other person.
Guilty.
Yeah, right. And so I think there's a little bit of that, but I just, when you were asking me about that, I can remember it was probably like a year or two after I moved to New York, and I would call home. And it was like when I finally realized, like, Jesus Christ, can you guys talk faster? Like, I don't have to be anywhere, but it's just taking too long to finish.
It's just annoying me.
It's like, fuck.
You got a cup of coffee and smoking a cigarette, and you're like, all right, get to the point, guys. I live in New York now, so it's different.
Finish the sentence.
I joke with my mom sound like my mom sounds like that for real. You know, people think I'm kidding. I'm like, no, my mom talks like that, and it's like totally normal. You know, that's just that's what it is.
Yeah.
But when I moved to New York, I had a similar experience where it was like some of my Southern manners and like niceties people do not respond well to, and I had to relearn. Like, you don't need to. You can't say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. People think you're calling them old. Shit like that. You know, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. This is what I was taught this. This is my whole life. You know?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, how do you feel when like a fucking 23-year-old piece of shit calls you sir? Don't you feel old? I feel old.
But I think I recognize that
I'll be like, no, guys, I know who Bad Bunny is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not like the other guys.
Hey, I've seen Euphoria, one episode. No, I think that it's I think that I recognize my position in the world, and that to someone of that age, 40 is old.
Right.
So I don't really I don't think nothing really makes me feel old. I have to be honest. Like, I don't ever feel like, maybe body stuff, like when my elbow's acting up, I'm like, damn, this wouldn't have happened if I was 25.
Yeah.
But like,
maybe when you're on your 16th Aleve back and muscle that day, do you feel old at that moment?
When I call you and say I can't podcast today because I've ruined my liver from Aleve, then maybe I guess I would kind of reconsider everything.
I guess speaking of aging, Ro, I don't want to age all of us completely, but you know, you let's say you got a little, around a decade on us, but you look the same age as us. So
yeah, what's the deal?
Drop the beauty routines. What's the deal? Do you have serums that we don't know about? Is it just clean living? What's your secret?
I mean, if you Google search back, it starts around. I quit drinking December 10th, 2016.
Okay.
And as I was saying before, I'll have a bitters and ginger ale or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I looked old then. But there are pictures of me that are online, and I'm like, fuck, man, I'm like about to pop. You know what I mean? Like, I was like pushing maximum density there. So I think there's probably something genetic or, whatever, late bloomerish, like I was like, like didn't develop quick, I had a childlike appearance into my adolescence or something, something, I don't know. It doesn't really, I have not done anything in particular. I smoke. I drink coffee all the fucking time. I drank so much tequila that when I quit, I actually felt bad for Mullane's, which was the place across the street from me, because I was like, man,
putting their kids through college.
They have so much Patron in the back. They're just like, what are we going to do with this tequila now?
We order a case a month for this fucking guy, and he's not showing up anymore. This is bullshit.
Fucking problem. I'm fucking stuck up.
I mean, we hear it all the time from people who, when you talk to somebody and they, had a big weight loss thing or something like that, and they're like, "What's your story?" I'm like, "Oh, I just stopped drinking, and I lost 30 pounds in a month." Like, how fast did the pounds come off once you quit drinking?
It was 25 pounds in 6 weeks. I do remember that, and I know it wasn't just from drinking. It was because, like, at 11 o'clock, it's like, after the pints and the tequilas and the whatever, it's like, I think I'm going to have a cheeseburger.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to put bacon on that at 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not a good time to eat a bacon cheeseburger. And then for some reason, you're still hungover in the morning, so you have to have a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich as well. And
you're double bacon, egging, and cheesing is the problem. Okay.
I mean, that's what it is. I think that's what it is for most people. A lot of people say like, "Oh, I can't smoke weed because I just get the munchies and I can't stop eating." For me, it was always alcohol, and just like you said,
same.
2 a.m. seems like a great time to order nachos. Let's fucking do it.
Calamari. Let's get nachos and calamari.
Let's get nachos.
Calamari at 2 a.m. What the fuck? Where are you going?
I didn't know they sold calamari at White Castle, and if they do, I don't think you should be eating it.
That seems risky, dude. That seems risky, bro.
The pub that was across the street from me, I used to say it was like it was kind of like my airport bar. You know what I mean? They sort of had everything on the menu, like too many things on the menu. And you probably shouldn't be ordering it, but it's like, fuck, man, I'm going to be really hungover if I don't eat something greasy right now. You know?
Yeah. No, it's they knew exactly what they were doing.
Speaking of some slightly older photos, I saw a photo of you, I think it was 2019 maybe, and you were just like hanging out. Maybe there was a dog around, you were smoking a cig, but you were wearing, you did something that I've never or I've rarely seen somebody successfully pull off. You were wearing flip-flops with socks and it was working. Tell me how. Tell me how to do that. Where do you get your powers from?
How did you do it?
It doesn't work for everybody, and I have a good
no shit.
Let me remind you, Jason. It doesn't work for everybody.
I mean, I guess that's a little bit of the Tallahassee in you coming out. Or
it's
like it's a
100%.
Key West swag, maybe.
I think it's like it's a little bit Japanese.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the Japanese do the you wear the thongs and the sock thing, but it's also like dirty South, like long socks with flip-flops is like a look, so like I don't rap, I've never rapped.
I could see you hopping out of the donk on Moreland in the socks and flip-flops to grab a soda from the gas station.
Yeah, but I mean a lot of rappers will wear socks with like a Nike slide or maybe
the slide, yes,
a Tom Ford slide, but you're talking about a thong where the sock is becoming tabbied whether it wants to or not.
Yeah, you went camel toe on the foot. He's got him on right now, the Havaianas. I'm proud of you, Ro, because I expected nothing less from you, but Havaianas is the only brand of flip-flops that is acceptable for men, in my opinion.
I agree.
Some people, like rainbows, which are the more expensive kind, you know what I'm talking about, like a little more substantial. But to me, a flip-flop should be the most non-substantial piece of footwear possible.
Yes.
Like I want this shit to blow away in the wind if a gust comes.
Those ones that, when I was a kid that I guess like by the time I was coming up, there was other options, but it's those ones that are like literally, like you said, like almost lighter than air. The foam,
yes, yeah,
seems to almost levitate. It's
like when you go get a pedicure and they're gonna give you the
slip-ons,
that are kind of, they seem to be biodegradable, like some Cove water.
Yeah. When you started, don't do that. When you started shooting fashion, like real fashion, did you make some maybe errors in your look because you were like, damn, I'm like exposed to this now, I'm going to try some new stuff? Or did you kind of hold the line throughout your career with your own look?
No, man. Y'all know the Preppy Handbook. Remember that? I don't know. That's
of course, the classic.
When you're babies. This was a thing that we all... it was like a American phenomenon of like, everybody knew.
Yeah.
And there's like preppy punk and there's this and like, I guess I went through lots of stages, with like hair color, from that until I was 20 or something like that. And then I realized like, oh, the collared shirt with the sweater is like, like it makes me seem like I'm normal. And that's a great trick. Because I don't think that I am, but because I look the way I do and I dress the way I do, I appear to be normal. And I guess I just sort of went with that. And, when I remember seeing Pavement at the Masquerade with about 20 other people. It was their first show in Atlanta, and seeing Malkmus and basically they all were dressed like how I was dressed, and I was like,
yeah.
And they, kind of sucked, but in the best possible way. And it was like the pinnacle of slack with that, like, the vestige of the Preppy Handbook, but it's kind of faded. It's not grunge. It's not flannel. It's not like dreadlocks. It's like like suburbanish or whatever that is, like a sort of like thing. And so
I mean, Malcolmus is the godfather of that look, and it's very. I know exactly what you think. I mean,
it sounds like Roe is the godfather of that look. Were you watching Pavement play and being like, these motherfuckers stole my whole fucking swag?
Well, the truth is that I think they you should give them godfather credit, because they definitely were out in front of the camera, right? They had the mic, so you got to give them credit.
Yeah.
But it was the way that we dressed in Atlanta to identify not so much as a thing, but as not a thing. You know what I mean? It was to like, to unname yourself was like more liberating than to say like, well, I was straight edge, but now I'm, just hardcore, or, I was a skater and now I'm, whatever.
It's that. I mean, that to me feels like 90s kind of like a certain kind of like slackerism, for lack of a better term, where it was like, I don't care about anything, and my clothes are almost so plain that it shows that, even though that in itself is a look. Everything's a look. You can't avoid it.
I mean, I love that look of a nice sweater over a collared shirt. Classic, amazing look. But whenever I try to wear it, I always wear it like at a rave or something, like at the wrong place, and people look at me like, "Oh, like, what kind of class do you teach?"
Yeah, but dude, you're 6'5" or something, so like they're gonna be looking at you no matter what you're wearing, dude.
It's a very good point, man. It's a very good point.
I often get told that I look like a cop in certain situations because of the way I dress, so I get it.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but it's true.
I'm literally wearing a collared shirt with a sweater over it, so it's.
I always find myself subconsciously. I'm always filming Chris for some reason.
Oh yeah.
Just in case he does something.
Yeah, just in case. I never know what this guy's gonna do. So Jason actually wears the body cam in our relationship. It's weird.
But also, there's something that I love about wearing, a collared shirt and a nice cashmere sweater to a fucking rave, because, like you said, like you're so ambiguously dressed and you just look so painfully normal. People look at you in that setting and they're like, what the fuck is this guy up to? What is he doing?
Right.
Why is he dressed like this? Is he more punk than I am in some weird way? Like
exactly.
I loved at the end of the book, you have, everyone has a little blurb, thanking people and things like that. And you had a line in there that said, very common in any book, like there's too many people to thank over the years, blah, blah, blah. But you kind of put out the call to action. If you are a person who helped make one of these images with me over the last 2 decades and I forgot to thank you in it, send me a DM and I'll put your name in the next book. So my question is, have there been any retouchers or PAs or hair artists that were mentally insane enough to send you a DM and be like, bro, 97, I fucking did this guy's hair and you didn't put my name in the book. What the hell?
Yeah, no, I don't, I guess I need to go back and check the DMs again. But no one has written to say I helped you on that and you didn't name me, but several people have written to say, you fucking idiot, we worked together for 5 years and you still misspell my name.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So kind of one of your go-to people, and you couldn't remember how to spell
their
name.
It's that thing where you do this stuff when you think that you're the boss author and you write it out and you're like, okay, assistant, and you take it from here and you make sure that, and then it's like, and don't worry if you don't get it right, because there's copy editors and they'll check it. And of course, then you get the book back and it's like, oh shit.
Nobody did anything.
So this is just like my stream of conscious spelling, like,
and they're like, Roe, you're the godfather of my kid. Could you please spell my name right for once?
It's Ashley with the EY. We've talked about this.
But I thought that was very genuine and sweet of you. And also just refreshingly hilarious to be like, this book's going to sell out pretty soon. We'll print another, 10,000. If I forgot to put your name in it,
holla.
Send me as if you have enough time to deal with somebody DMing you for, a photo credit from 2001.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it was refreshing.
Today was a little bit busy, but I will have some time tomorrow. So you guys go ahead and send it. If you're listening.
The lines are open, callers.
The lines are open. I wanted to ask you to give us at least one fun, PG-13 to R Larry Gagosian story, if you have any.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If you have any that you feel willing to share, just because I want to add to kind of the mythic legend, if we can do our part at How Long Gone.
Okay. I'm collating as mentally trying to filter out something.
Rotron 3000 is computing. Please hold.
I remember several conversations. I think we've had lunch, I don't know, a handful of times at Capo, which is at 976 Madison, the sushi place. He eats lunch there every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the good fortune of having several lunches with him.
Every day?
Pretty much.
And I just want to just to be clear, he does pick up the tab.
I mean, he owns the restaurant, so I guess I'm not paying for it.
I mean, how often has the guy ever been like, sushi, I think I'm good today. Do you want to grab anything else? You're like, I can't eat sushi 5 days a week.
Well, I think they make other stuff. They cook food, and it's like it's not all just sushi. But
I'm digressing. No,
it's okay. But I do remember I was explaining that I had this idea for the show in San Francisco, always trying to figure out another way to get an image into the gallery without it having to be a framed addition to artwork. And so using a new process, I could print onto tile. And so I was explaining, and then I was going to print onto mirrors and print onto tile. And I thought about it and went through my whole pitch, and he's like, kind of looking at me, seemingly maybe not listening. I don't know. And then he's like, and I finish, and he's like, well, nobody's going to fucking buy that.
He's like, I'm gonna let you finish, Chief.
He's like, I'm not paying for that.
Are you done, idiot?
Yeah, you know what I'm in the business of? It's called making money. So we're not gonna do that one.
So did you ever end up printing on tile or mirror?
Did not, but I did wind up printing on brass.
Okay.
And put it in frames, and the pictures of my sort of muse, Louise Parker, who's been in a bunch of my pictures, and those brass pictures are actually in the book. It's like they look like sort of brass colored background with a black and white double exposure on top. And those sold very well.
So fuck you, Larry. You were right. Yeah, I'm sure you let Larry know that you had to big dick him and be like, "Remember those, bitch?" Like,
no.
How's my dick taste, Larry?
No,
you get 10% of nothing. You happy now?
Oh my God, I don't think I can get fired, but you guys are trying. No, he was right though. He was right in that it needs to have a frame and it needs to go on the wall. That works wonders,
That does work wonders.
Well, I think that somebody is listening to this podcast right now who can afford to have their next guest bathroom tiled with a 1-of-1 Roe photograph.
Just DM me,
send him a DM.
DM me, just to kind of CC your interior designer on the message, and we'll kind of get started once we decide on budget.
We'll take it from there.
Once we budget. I mean, that sounds like a fabrication nightmare, but I'm glad you figured it out.
I know it can be done. That's all. Yeah. I haven't done it yet. Yeah. I know it can be done.
No, I think that's a fun. I think because I do. I don't know. I mean, I think that like that Wolfgang Tillman show at the MoMA and the fact that like almost nothing was in a frame, like in that environment, it was pretty powerful, And I think,
sure, yeah.
And I think that like, but I do understand that like buying something, you want, like, it's a mental thing. We're taught that like if you're buying art, it is in a frame. Yeah, it's like we can't unlearn that.
And dude, if you buy a Tillman's, you're getting it in a frame. You don't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Into the wall.
Yeah.
They're professionally framed, glazed art objects.
If I'm buying a pair of Roe trousers, I want them to come in a nice bag.
Exactly.
With a nice tag on them.
I got the dust cover, a little bit of everything. I mean, that's what
I want the box to feel nicer than it should feel.
Man, I tried to do. I do have. This is what I'm plugging. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Ready? Let's cue music. Row by row. I got some T-shirts for sale at Polychronic, thepolychronic.com.
Okay.
It's like when I first tried to make apparel merchandise stuff, it was like that packaging. I was like really obsessed with like I got a stamp made, so I would like, sort of stamp everything a bunch and put it in a little box and try to make the packaging do something. Man, I was fucking losing my mind. The fulfillment aspect was taking up more time than anything else. It was so insane. I was just like, you know what? Those white plastic bags, just stuff the shirt into the white plastic bag and send it.
Oh man,
like, that's fine.
We have a robust merch program here at How Long Gone. That's a big part of our business. And once we found a partner that we just send art to and everything else they handle, it's life changing. I mean, obviously they charge a fee, etc. It's fine, but like we never see anything until it's done, basically.
That's awesome.
And it's like, it's the only way to do it sustainably.
Yeah.
And I mean sustainable, like mental health sustainable, not like for the environment.
Oh, yeah.
It's still in plastic, of course.
But also, you come from that DIY generation, and it sounds fun and quaint and like a tangible project to put all the shirts in a box and ship them and all that stuff. It is, and during COVID, when we started the podcast, we would do that. And it would be fun. Chris would come over and we'd spend a couple hours packaging and shipping them. And I'm like, oh, we did good stuff and we made money. This is great.
Yeah.
It does get old quick. But if you do need any help with some t-shirt stuff, we're more than happy to help out. I saw the shirt that you're talking about. It's like a black and white print of a portrait of some flowers, I believe.
Yeah, that's from a
great shirt.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we did 3 little versions of it.
Don't you do like the book title in like kind of like a collegiate style on the shirt too?
I did a polychronic one with my dog on it and put polychronic at the bottom. And the dog's tongue is like really vulgar. It was like July upstate, and just humid as fuck, and the dog's tongue is like hanging out like 6 inches and really, when a dog, they're trying to cool off.
Slobbering.
He's really wagging that thing, I bet.
Yeah. So I did put graphics on that one that says polychronic on it, but I haven't done an American Polychronic t-shirt.
I mean, it feels like it could be a university. You know what I mean? So I think maybe.
Oh, the Polychronic. Oh, you're right. Yes, I did do the varsity shirt. You're right. I forgot about that one. Sorry, dude. Yes, we did. And we did it in so you could pick between Yale and Harvard. So that was the color scheme that we went with: blue and white and crimson and gray, or whatever.
Gray, of course. That's the
Ivy League
classic choices.
But it's really more like DeVry. You know what I mean? Like
that's where I didn't even graduate from there, so I can relate.
It's Ivy League for the price of DeVry.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's what we believe in at Roe by Roe Etheridge.
Roe by Roe has some serious kind of, you guys have a hard line on where you stand, and value is something that is important to you.
We're coming for you, Old Navy.
Roe, thank you so much for joining us on How Long Gone. We had a blast. And guys, go get the book. If you haven't, there's a lot of books out there. I'm sure you can find them on eBay or at Karma or Mast, maybe.
Or thepolychronic.com also.
You have it all there. Okay, cool. Yeah. Go direct.
Well, not everything. Just the self-published stuff that's maybe a little bit harder to find, but come see me, come DM me.
Yeah, we'll see you we'll see you at Elmere.
See you at Elmere.
We'll see you at Elmere. Burritos on me. You and Jason can share some chips and guacamole. It's nothing, really. We have a corporate card. It's fine.
You guys are too generous, man. Like, big spenders.
You're so welcome. And I'll be in New York end of the month, and you can take me over to Gagosian sushi spot.
Well, go.
Just the first level omakase is totally fine. I don't have to go crazy or anything.
No sake pairing at lunch. That's too much.
Yeah, dude, chill. Come on.
Yeah, let's not get crazy.
Thanks, Ro. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Ro.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. That was fun.